Good evening, oh my God, I just spit and I stuttered. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the even more educated news channel. You're joined by your lovely co-host, me, myself, and I. Um, Eat my ass. So that being said, it is a truly unfortunate series of circumstances that have led me to creating this video because I feel the need to educate those who are about to die. So, without further ado, let me frame the subject of this. This is not necessarily a critique of specific arguments. I believe that you should be able to hold whatever ideas that ideas, beliefs, whatever, based on your religion, facts and things being presented to you. This is not a critique necessarily of the ideas that one holds. So when I bring up the idea um, of evolution and carbon dating. This isn't to say that creationism versus evolution. When I bring up trans and DEI topics, this isn't an argument for trans or and gender affirming care. And it also isn't an argument to suggest that DEI is appropriate or not. This is merely an analysis of sources. This is an analysis of of how studying and how sources should be evaluated. This is how we collect information. This is how we analyze the reputability of a source and how we form consensus in our research. So, with that being said, my research experience earned me a master's degree. I understand that looking up a topic in Google does not constitute research. I've done thorough research, analyzing scholarly articles. Um, via my master's degree and my thesis, which had, an entire section on literature review. So I won't claim to be an expert, but I do have sufficient practice in the area that I can make fairly qualifying statements. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna kind of frame this idea a little bit of what exactly led us here. And oh, only the host can share. Allow me to fix that. Um, And to those that need it, to those about to die, please heed my words because this will make you more academic. This speaks to the ability to read, comprehend, and literacy rates in our country. And yep, yeah, no, this is just all like top tier A grade examples of everything. So everything that I've been subject to this past, I don't even fucking know how long. So please direct your attention to these messages. Um, and I'll kind of so if you remember from an earlier video posted on my channel, I mentioned Stefan's use of sources as it pertains to carbon dating. And he claimed that he sent me multiple sources, and I cherry picked one. I will scroll through these messages to demonstrate that in fact he only sent me one. And it was from the thing that I mentioned. So as you can see, I'm scrolling. Um, so God created, yeah, he sends me a Bible verse. That was the next attachment. And as you can see, the date. This is the next Friday. This is at a later date, not the same day. So at no point that day or any time in the future did he send me additional information regarding carbon dating. Okay? So we'll continue to scroll. So I only ever received that one article that he did not read, nor did he source appropriately. So as you can see, this is a paper about carbon dating, and then the sources of said paper. As you can see, the sources are christiananswers.net, an excerpt from the Answers book revised by Ken Ham, a known creationist who famously argued with Bill Nye. If you haven't seen it, he's also director of the Ark, a creationist museum in Kentucky, who I've had the pleasure of virtually touring through. And regardless of feelings towards creationism versus whatever else. Um, yeah, this is where this is sourced from. Um, this is, I don't even know the college, Chem EDU, and it was written by some. I think everybody in this class had their papers published. This is not well vetted. This is like some sophomore in college that wrote a paper and it's on their website as a work, as a work. Like, and I click on that link to show you where the citation came from. Um, so yep, I scroll up to show more framing of the conversation. We talk about carbon dating, and there it goes. There are no other sources. So just to go to the show, when he says I cherry picked, I in fact did not. Uh, this is hey, that's all he sent me, guy. Um, so. Yep. And like I said, feel free to check out the URL, learn more about the school. I yeah, it's embarrassing, honestly. Because this wasn't in a peer-reviewed journal. There's no corroborating evidence, and he cited one source in the paper. So I probably wouldn't be inclined to take any advice from this person regarding radiometric dating. But hey, it is what it is, homie. I'm actually curious. So first, we'll talk about radiometric dating. I know that this is not necessarily like an interesting topic for most, but again, I'll try to frame it around the idea of what am I doing? I need this move for just a second. I need to exit out of these. I need you to don't save, please. Just stop looking at my code, ladies and gentlemen. This does not concern you. All right. So, radiometric dating, according to the University of Chicago, is still a reliable method. So we can click on my university source, right? And we can go analyze that. What is carbon dating? And also, just keep in mind what these are being used for, right? Um, why, look at the number of sources that I cite when discussing radiometric dating. Look at the care that's gone into this article versus the other. And yeah, so that's just, of course, one of my sources. It talks a little bit about, despite the complications of carbon dating specifically as one form of radiometric dating, that there are issues with it. What it measures, it raises, all this good stuff. Cool. Also, cite NCBI, peer reviewed journals, that are largely Oh, I just realized you guys probably could not see my recent source that I just pulled up. I'm sorry. Allow me to reshare my screen. Uh, just share the full screen. My apologies, guys. I was not tracking that. Um, excuse me. Let me refresh this. This is the NCBI PubMed article. Regarding the uncertainty and reliability of radiocarbon dating. Okay. Peer-reviewed journal has an editor, has author's notes, information, copyright license. I mean, this is, and I think we can also see how well cited it is. Look at I mean, this is a paper. This is research. Again, I'm not discussing the contents of the paper because I'm not here to convince you of radiocarbon dating. I'm here to look at sources. Okay. So that being said, this is my source. And just for a refresher, This this was potentially one of his. Okay. So, oh, I'm sorry. This paper here. Oh, my apologies. I just remembered what that source was. This was the one he originally sent me. Okay. I believe. Yes. I believe this was the one. Yes, Christian Answers. Absolutely. Um, dated research. Doop doop doop. Again, super old. I don't even know. Can we look up? So, Chem UWEC EDU. Oh, no, because that'll take me to the chemistry department. I don't want the chemistry department. I just want UWEC. Because what the fuck is UWEC? University of Wisconsin, Euclid. They have about 9,500 students. Okay, so this is like somebody at Prairie View getting their paper published that they wrote in some undergrad class. This is not, I'm not impressed. But that was the paper he cited me. This was also from the chemistry department, written by Jessica Baretti. She was brave enough to put her, or they were, sorry, don't know. I'm not gonna, nah, I'm fucking with you. She wrote this paper, and it is much more thorough. There's graphics, there's math, there's things to suggest about carbon dating, right? The advantages, the disadvantages. This is a more scientific paper with more robust research and sources and wait. Oh, these were written a while ago in '02. I would suppose because these are somewhat dated things. But that being said, this was written from the same department, different student, and it directly conflicts with what he sent me from his own source. It's the same department, two different papers, neither one of them peer, but they directly conflict. Again, without peer-reviewed research, it's really not all that valuable. But I'm inclined to agree with this student because it appears that the research is solid. So all that being said, when Stefan specifically makes statements about carbon dating and its efficacy, he has zero idea what he's talking about on the basis of this. He doesn't know how to do research. He only looks for things that support his current narrative. Um, that is grossly evident by the article he sent me. He has no interest in actually reading peer-reviewed journals and reading what science has to say. He just wants to reinforce his old worldview, which he's more than entitled to do so. Me personally, I don't operate that way. I like to operate in the realm of facts rather than fiction and personal beliefs. I believe in bending, being maneuverable, and adaptable to the world around me, not fitting the world to my own point of view and perspectives. So that's a little bit about just carbon dating his examples. Excellent. Um, what's next? Okay, so I think that was it regarding carbon dating. I don't think there was much more to discuss on this end. Um, oh, and just for shits and giggles, reservoir age, right? So he commonly cites he's read this somewhere, but he never did any further reading to justify this fact. Um, that there's this idea that does carbon 14 dating of freshwater mussels do the inaccuracies here discredit carbon 14 dating? And the answer is it does discredit carbon 14 dating of freshwater mussels, but that's it. That exclusively. And you may ask why freshwater mussels are the exception to carbon 14 dating. Well, there's considerable evidence to show that mussels acquired much of their carbon from the limestone in the waters from which they lived, and from some very old humus as well. Carbon from these sources is very low in C14 because these sources are so old and have not mixed with fresh carbon in the atmosphere or in the air. Thus, a freshly killed mussel has far less carbon 14 than a freshly killed, well, anything else, which is why the carbon 14 dating method of freshwater mussels makes them seem much older than they really are. It's because their source of carbon. There's not carbon dioxide down there in the water for them to that they're exposed to. Therefore, they don't have current atmospheric conditions to of carbon 14. Now, there also brings into this question, how do we know the carbon content of an atmosphere at any given point in history? You have ice cores where pockets of air and bubbles are captured in these ice cores. The makeup of the gases present in these bubbles can be analyzed, and therefore, based off dendrology, where is it at? Yeah, it's dendrology, the study of tree rings. We can date the period of time to where this gas is from. Um, and therefore we can mimic or understand early Earth conditions, right? Just to answer his questions, because I know he'll never do the research himself. But quick segue, this goes to show the damage of misinformation. And because misinformation is easily uttered, it takes an enormous amount of work to fact check. I've accumulated hundreds of sources dozens of hours to compile a massive document of hundreds of thousands of words about various topics that he spread misinformation on. And some of it is of my own personal interest, but this is the power of misinformation. I have to spend my time to debunk it, and all he has to do is utter it. So that's about it for radiocarbon dating. Excuse that. Oh my God. Don't look at this either. That's why I don't like sharing my screen, is because you see too much. All right. I'm gonna accidentally click on my porn collection and we're gonna have a big fucking issue. Just kidding. Who the fuck saves porn to their devices? What's next? Oh, trans and DEI debate. First off, let's do trans. So I will pull up sources that he sent me regarding trans people, and then we will analyze my sources and my claims. Okay, we'll share my screen. Thank you. Ooh, help me out here, baby. So he cites this article. Great journal, by the way. Love this. National Library of Medicine, National Center for Biotechnology Information, and the National Institute of Health. This starts to look like a great source. However, the content of the article is just as important as the credibility of the source. So, that being said, this is the risk of suicide and self-harm following gender affirmation surgery. I would like to call specific attention to this article has been corrected. See Curus 2024, June 11th. All right. And a bunch of other. Please keep note of that. It will become relevant later. I racked my brain reading this article because it seemed somewhat nondescript and nonsensical, at least for representing the point that he attempted to persuade me of, and that was the fact that gender affirming care, specifically surgeries, does not affect quality of life, and that suicide rates, both pre-op, and post-op of gender affirming care, does not significantly reduce um, um, suicide rates in the trans community. This is known to be false through consensus of data and studies. However, he looks for any excuse to feed this anti-trans sentiment that he has, which I completely despise because again, there's no backing in reality. If you think trans people should burn in hell and do whatever, hey, that's not my prerogative, but have your beliefs, you fucking bigot. Do you, dog? But understand that when you have those beliefs, it's not okay to push them because they don't have any basis in reality. You don't get to suck me into your world, baby. We're living in mine. So, that being said, something to note about this is that there are several cohorts. Cohort A, all right, people that have received gender affirming care and had an emergency room visit. Okay, that's cohort A. Notice that the number of subjects in cohort A is 1,501. Cohort B, control group of adults with emergency visits but have not received gender affirming surgery. Notice that this number is 16 million or 15,608,363. So, and then cohort C is another control group of adults with emergency visits, such as tubule ligation, or vasectomy, but also no gender affirming surgery. And the number of people present in this control group is 142,093 participants. So now, those numbers seem a little crazy intuitively. You may wonder why that is. It's because trans make up less than 1% of the population, and 15 million is a shit ton of people. So it leads me to believe that guess what? Not all of these people are trans. So therefore, on that basis alone, a cohort to cohort comparison from trans to non-trans populations does not, by definition, does not compare with his original claim of pre-op and post-op suicide rates. Why? Because you have to compare two trans populations before and after to understand that metric. He doesn't realize that. He just thinks that because trans, which it is true, they experience a higher suicide rate than the average population due to a variety of factors, that they experience negative health outcomes and negative mental health outcomes. It has been proven that gender affirming care does greatly improve the quality of life and has been shown to demonstrate, that a 40% decrease in some cases of improvement in suicide rates after gender affirming care. But you do this, you have to understand the methodology of the study. Okay. He doesn't because he's never done research before in his life and has zero comprehension skills. When we had the discussion about literacy rates in America, literacy is not only the ability to read and write, but also to comprehend what you are doing so. So when we say most of the country reads at a sixth grade level, I think he sees a bunch of fancy percentages and his fucking brain malfunctions because this article does not prove any point about the efficacy of gender affirming care. There's no answers to this in this article. None to the efficacy of gender affirming care. What this article does answer is we see, which is this is also well documented, the fact that these populations, the trans population, experience suicide and depression and mental health crises in a larger percentage when compared to the general population. This is true, but it's due to, variety of issues. We could say because of social pressures, because of like the gender dysphoria dysfunction or that they experience, as well as other things, um, a lack of acceptance, bigotry that he pushes. So congratulations, you're killing people, you dick face. So anyway, we go on to read. He specifically cites this section. Please again pay attention to the wording. In patients with a history of gender affirmation surgery, there was a 3.35 times greater risk of being deceased. Patients with a history of gender affirming surgery had a 9.88 times greater risk of self-harm or suicide, and also of PTSD. This is great. Again, awesome numbers. We love this study. But compared to what? Compared to cohort B and C of Gen Pop, not to other trans people, or not to the original trans population itself. So therefore, this is only an article suggesting that they experience worse mental health outcomes, and we need to find ways to remedy that, such as greater social acceptance, psychiatric care, and things of that nature to improve these things. But please, 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 please notice the comparisons and where these numbers are coming from. I say this, numbers are as close as we can come to the handwriting of God, the most literal observations of our universe can be mathematically defined. But without proper interpretation, facts are lies. Without proper interpretation, numbers will forever just be that, numbers. And there can be no meaningful distinctions made between numbers without appropriate interpretation of statistics. So, I say that statistics is a difficult field. There's a reason that gambling, probability, and statistics is a multi-billion dollar industry in Vegas. Is because we don't have a fundamental or inherent like understanding. It is a very difficult concept for humans to intuitively grasp. But you don't get to sit here pretend you have an understanding when fundamentally you don't. I pray to God he sent me this and didn't actually read it. Because if he didn't read it, then he's just a dumbass that like doesn't read and he gets clickbaited. Okay, cool. God forbid he fucking read this, thought it supported his argument because of his lack of literacy, and then proceeded to send it to me anyway. Actual fucking moron. But as I said, this article has been corrected. If we read the abstract, um, um, with the methodology, such and the results and the conclusion, please take note of them. We will go to the corrected version of this article. So if you notice the original abstract conclusion, okay, I'm sorry. Let me click on this momentarily. Okay, correction notice. Here we are. The article has been corrected by the editors-in-chief to clarify the conclusions of the study. Two sentences have been revised and detailed below. So he probably only read the fucking abstract and conclusions and not the methodology because he does not know how to do research because he's an undergrad piece of shit. I'm sorry for all you undergrad people, but he's an undergrad piece of shit that does not know how to conduct fucking research. He has no ability to read and comprehend the things that he does read. Okay? And he gets fucking clickbaited. I don't know what to tell you. But the worst part is he has this Dunning-Kruger complex of being more competent than he is with zero humility, and pride is a motherfucking sin, my boy. So, that being said, the original abstract conclusions, gender-affirming surgery has significantly associated with elevated suicide attempt risk, underlying the necessity for comprehensive post-procedure psychiatric support. This has been corrected to state that patients who have undergone gender affirming surgery are associated with a significantly elevated risk of suicide, not that gender affirming care causes suicide. This is what he thinks is being portrayed by this study, but he doesn't understand that. Highlighting the necessity for comprehensive post procedure psychiatric support. The original conclusion, the results of this study show that gender affirming care is associated with significantly higher risk of suicide, death, or self harm and PTSD when compared to control groups, as if there's a causal link. However, this has been corrected too. The results of the study indicate that patients who have undergone gender affirmation are associated with significantly higher risk of suicide, self harm, PTSD when compared to the general population. Do you see that? Where now in the conclusion, it's not this ambiguous control group. It's the Gen Pop, which again, this is well documented. We know this occurs and it occurs for a variety of reasons. It's not because they're undergoing surgery. Now, if you compared pre-op trans people to and their rates to Gen Pop, and then compared post-op trans people to Gen Pop, and let's say pre-op, um, excuse me, pre-op, there was an 8 times greater risk for suicide in pre-op trans population. Then we can make a comparison to the post-op and how that compares. Now, post-op has, let's say they have they're 4 times as likely to kill themselves or commit suicide compared to Gen Pop. They still have a higher likelihood than the general population, than the average person, of committing suicide post gender affirming surgery. But there's been a significant improvement, in fact, a 50% reduction from pre-op levels of suicidality. This shows a decrease and demonstrates efficacy of gender affirming care. This article does not demonstrate any of that because it doesn't compare pre and post op. Therefore, the point that you're getting at is mut. It doesn't make any sense and it's not arguable here. While it's great that you're informed now, this does not further your point. What I will do is I will be a gracious host and attempt to go through a little bit diversity. I'm sorry, give me just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Suicide results, suicide related treatment, a review. There was one that I wanted to gender affirming surgery, transgender patients. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Is it this one? Oy, 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 oy. This is broken to shit. I don't think that's the one I want. Where's my 40% at? Trans. Oh, here we go. No, that's 40% have attempted suicide. That's not what I want. Quality of life improvements, a systematic review of and a meta-analysis. Meta-analyses are cool, but whatever. Quality assessment, data extraction, meta-analysis. Cool, cool, cool. Uh, Let me see. Of 403 studies were identified through the database, 288, yeah, 15 additional selected a conclusion, and blah, 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 relevant papers removing duplicates. Direct measure for finally sample of 29 papers discussed. Studies characteristics, 29 risk of bias. Cool. This is neato. I've never seen a summary of work redundant like this. Oh, sex-related quality of life. Four studies investigated quality of life. Uh, Transgender group with a cisgender group. One carried out comparisons with transgender men and transgender women pre and post. And the fourth, okay, see. Um, I'm trying to find I just want to see like the fucking results, please. This is long. References, conclusion. So this coincides with his point. Transgender people's quality of life is poorer than cisgendered people, but that it improves post gender affirmation treatment. The poor quality of life found in transgender population found pre treatment could be explained by a high degree of mental health problems purported by the population. Cool. Uh-oh, I'm almost out of time. For next, DEI. This fucking moron. I'm curious to see what this dickface said. And here's my text to him. I said as much. Hopefully his fuck ass watches this video and learns a thing or two about research because he actually thinks he's right about things, when he's actually fucking retarded. Um, could a male in 98? No. Same with firefighting. Okay, great. But what you don't understand here is that men and women operate different roles inside of the US and military and things. So let's go check that out. Let's go to DEI real quick. The Army's independent review. Okay, excellent. So, first off, let me lay the groundwork. There's a basic test of physical fitness that the military undergoes. This is different per branch and is adjusted holistically for your age, gender, and occupation in the armed forces. Now, like I mentioned, there's this basic fitness test to be allowed in and to remain in. Then there are different fitness tests for occupational jobs. Now, for these occupational standards, under the 1994 National Defense Authorization Act, it established that roles that are co-inhabited by both male and female populations, they have to be analyzed under the common ground. This wording means that you cannot have holistic review. There is one metric to be met under occupational standards, not for the basic test. If a woman can, and I believe that 100+ women have graduated Ranger School, you are fucking badasses, because Lord knows I couldn't do it. But they met the basic test and then exceeded and met the same standards that men do at some occupational level, right? It is against the law as of this 1994 act to lower occupational standards for groups of individuals. Why? Because it represents potential harm and the degradation of quality of soldier as it pertains to their combat fitness. Um, so DI in the military does not make us a weaker fighting force. This is some actually retarded like Republican talking point to fight against DEI, but they don't have any fucking idea what they're talking about. Much and to mention that this is another just shot because I've been taking them all fucking night. Fun fact, Stefan's too fucking cowardly to serve in the military. He's mentioned on multiple occasions that if World War III to break out, he would find any way not to motherfucking serve. Me, on the other hand, boy, I'm enlisting that same motherfucking day. Maybe not enlisting, going in as an officer. But this just goes to speak. This is the actual review from Rand, and it speaks about the holistic review process. DEI as it pertains to firefighters, because he also made this claim that women can't do the same thing. One, firefighters often work in teams. They are rarely alone, for one. For two, 70% of firefighter cases, guess what, are EMS related, emergency medical services. Not about 4% of the time that firefighters are called out, they're actually fighting fires. So that being said, are women nurses, are women doctors, are women in the healthcare field? Yes, I think they're predominantly in that field. So that being said, I feel they're more than capable of servicing their patients and things as firefighters. Now, diversity in these roles, especially in medicine, allow for more holistic review and personalized care by people with similar experience and specialized knowledge. A great example is a personal anecdote that I have is that blacks in medicine, that there are there are drugs to treat high blood pressure, which is chronic in the black community, whether that's due to diet, body mass, or simply genetics. Um, there are different ways that you can treat these with different drugs. One of these methods is through ACE inhibitors, and the other is through beta blockers. Don't ask me about the mechanism of action, as I am not a doctor. I would have to defer to somebody with specialized knowledge on the topic. But that being said, ACE inhibitors are stereotypically known to be harmful to black people. Why? Because or I should say, not necessarily why is that the case, but the why being that the standard for health was modeled after, guess who? The average white male. So when certain drugs come out and they there's some bias in the testing to where, oh, it's been shown to help with blood pressure in this select population. But through more holistic review, we understand that ACE inhibitors actually negatively affect black people. So it's encouraged anytime you have a black person with high blood pressure, to all you doctors that didn't know this, um, beta blockers is more appropriate to be distributed or prescribed to African Americans that have high blood pressure instead of ACE inhibitors. That being said, you would never know this without representation in these roles. That way, people's perspectives, challenges, and specific characteristics can be taken for personalized care and holistic review. LA fires have nothing to do with DEI. Elon Musk falsely asserted this, as he always does, because he's a fucking meme lord, and I might say the one person more retarded than fucking Stefan. The truth is that while Mayor Bass cut the budget, I highlighted this because I thought it was interesting, but not necessarily relevant. Elon Musk posted to X, DEI was prioritized over saving lives, and that X, Y, and Z. Now, it has been shown that, guess what? There is, what did I just click on? There's not a link between, um, 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 firefighters and and poor performance. This just doesn't exist. So, anyway, I have a minute left before this runs out. I have more to say, but I'll leave you with a 1 minute summary. Stefan's a fucking moron. He has no idea to conduct research, and when he does, he merely clicks on links and picks out and cherry picks data that allows him to continue to have the worldview that he does. There is a key difference between me and Stefan. I am open to having my mind changed, and he is not. I'm adaptable. He is not. And so I leave that for the reader and hopefully him to ponder over because, quite frankly, it's disgusting that you think that any of your arguments even remotely come close to mattering, that you have as strong opinions that you do when you're ill-informed at best. And God help you if you're doing this malevolently, because it's starting to border that way. The misrepresentation of facts, the cherry picking of data, my friend, that's not research. So I encourage everybody, please be thorough with your research. Understand your own biases when moving forward, and understand what it takes to have your mind changed. Because quite frankly, the refuting of consensus is largely non-productive and only gets in the way of like us actually fucking intelligent people from solving the world's problems. That being said, to those about to die, go fuck yourselves. That's a gladiator reference, by the way. It's a joke, but that being said, it's extrapolated because we're all dying constantly. So to those about to die, you should watch the show too. Yeah, I'm watching the inauguration right now. This is an additional revision to yesterday's or last night's video regarding Stefan, the sources that he uses for argumentation, and well, quite frankly, to establish his worldview. So, I'm gonna go over a conversation that we had after I attempted to correct him about the conclusions drawn from the study that I shared in that paper, specifically regarding gender affirming care. Um, and the complete and utter dismissal of everything I had to say, the continued utterance of his worldview despite no statistical or factual backing, and quite frankly, a complete misunderstanding of the situation as a whole. I think this speaks to his competency as a person, um, and his literacy. So yeah, right now, just kind of yapping, waiting for this to send to my iPad. I recorded this on my cell phone. Actually, I'm sorry. I forgot. I'm stupid. I don't need to I don't need to. I can just take you through the messages live on here. Okay, so allow me to share my screen. I was sending the document, but I forgot my iPad gets my messages as well because Apple's badass. I'll go ahead and share my screen momentarily. We'll start broadcast. And we will go through my messages. All right, because that's gonna be so much fun. Y'all don't fucking, hey, listen, boy. Don't you pay attention to who the fuck I'm texting. That's none of your goddamn business. All right. So fuck y'all. All right. So I'll take you back to this point as of actually, well, let me ch the framing of that conversation, right? I say, oh, where's my really long message? Oh, next video idea here. I need you to present sources because I wanted to just call him out. I just wanted to be, hey, I want you to present to me why you think the way that you do and to see if your sources really back that up. Because after numerous conversations with him and making, quite frankly, just like baseless claims, I had to get up into his head. He repeatedly refers to me as the N-word, and says, bro, you have Google. My DEI point is he refers to this idea of common sense, which isn't all that common. He then refers to carbon dating to say, I don't particularly care. I feel that this is largely because he probably knows he's in the wrong and that carbon dating would directly conflict with his worldview. So he just thinks it's better to ignore it. And then as for the Trump situation, because I asked for documents to vindicate Trump, he said, ask your boy Jack Smith. He was unable to, he didn't meet the criteria for the definition of incitement of insurrection, which is false as of the Colorado Supreme Court. So, which is the highest court in the land that has passed ruling on his on the idea that he's committed insurrection. Um, because while the Supreme Court ruled on the Colorado v. Anderson case, it did not, and it expressly did not go into the question of insurrection and section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It explicitly did not rule on Trump's conduct. But the next highest court that has reviewed it is the Colorado Supreme Court. So I'd be inclined to agree with that precedent that has been set. All right. It's actually well cited too. Like they have a test for insurrection. It's a three-pronged test. I forget the name of the court case, but oh, it's Brandenburg v. I forget, maybe Ohio. I don't know. Brandenburg v. something, and it has to do with a KKK leader that incited a mob to harm black people back in whenever. He said, "Oh, they'll pay, they'll hang by their necks." And quote unquote fighting words served to, sufficiently um fell into each one of the prongs, each one of the categories that courts use to rule on was the speech intended to cause violence? Um, it looks at like past behavior and some other stuff like intent, rhetoric, and yeah, I would have to go actually look at my notes on the case. But anyway, not what we're here to talk about. So these people attempted suicide far beyond the rate as per this study. And I say that doesn't demonstrate GAC, gender affirming care, doesn't work. But save it for the video is what I attempt to say here. Again, calls me the N word for whatever reason. Gender affirming care would be affirming that they are in the correct body to begin with. Not that their bodies need to go through life risking and altering irreversible surgeries. The goal of the study is to assess reasons. Why not? Oh, why not demonstrate the I mistypo here, but to assess reasons why. The goal, oh, sorry, it's not a typo. I just fucked up my cadence. We need to add punctuation to text in the future, Xavier. The goal of the study is to assess reasons why, not demonstrate the efficacy of gender care. Affirming delusion should be a crime, and Trump says he'll shut that down. Okay, I don't care about all that. Good for them. But I ask him with what logical basis for doing so, kind of prompting him like, hey, go ahead, cite something for me. You said trans suicide is not gender affirming care. Are you incapable of reading your original message? If you go back to my original message, I say, oh, I scrolled past it. My apologies. Where's that big old block of text I sent? Okay. I need you to present sources for your claims of trans suicide rates. Now, if you go revisit our video regarding Peter Hegseth on the moderately educated news network channel Men, his claim in that video is that trans people kill themselves at similar rates both pre and post gender affirming care. But here, despite me saying your claims of suicide rates, meaning he should kind of know like what I'm referring to, because it's something that left his mouth. He kind of feigns ignorance. I don't believe that was ignorance. But then he likes to claim that I can't read, but despite me being the one that has to conduct all of his research for him. Your claim during our last chat was trans suicide rates remain unchanged after gender affirming care. I assumed you would remember those statements and position. And like I said in the Pete Hegseth vid, I'm sure that you could tell someone from childhood they're girl, yeah, whatever the fuck. I don't know what that has to do with anything. If you read the message, it says your claims, as in previously stated claims. Great rhetoric, just asking for a source. They're still high afterwards, but bet I got you now that you specified. Bet, thanks. So this was at 9:07. He took approximately, it looks like 9:07, about 24 minutes to send me a source where he sends me this. I take about an hour to sit and read the paper to get an understanding. So, a couple things. And this is all demonstrated in the video that I'm tacking this onto, so no need to really sit here. But for continuity's sake, I'll discuss the text messages. So a couple things, it compares the Gen Pop, doesn't make the comparison or measure improvement before and after GAC. The second thing being reported, the original study has been updated and altered in order to better represent the intention of the study because the original abstract and conclusion was somewhat incongruent with the data received. Because it wasn't necessarily indicative that there was an implied causal link between gender affirming care and suicide rates, um, as if people were upset at the fact that they received gender affirming care, so that's why they were killing themselves, was kind of some of the implication there. But it was later revised. He was not aware of this. He was not aware of this, so I pointed it out. So please read the revised version as I went over this yesterday. Either revision says yes, they do kill themselves at higher rates than Gen Pop post GAC. And it's even recommended that they receive psychiatric support. Now, he goes on. I haven't fully read all of this because, quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. He's not citing anything. So I don't give a fuck about his rhetoric because, again, this isn't this is not an exercise for you to prove to me that trans people are subhuman pieces of shit. Um, I know that already. No, I'm just just kidding. Um, nah, man, I fight hard for you guys in this shit. I really do. It is fucking absurd. But anyway, that being said, um, yeah, this isn't an exercise for him to convert me. This is an exercise to for me to understand and hopefully for him to realize his research ability, how he's able to comprehend and read scholarly studies, which he's demonstrated an extreme ineptitude for. It is disgusting. So I'll leave that up on screen for a while so that you can read through it. Me personally, I don't even want my eyes to witness that too much. This was a random text about maybe a next video. I don't give a fuck. I notice you spend a lot of time not citing the article that he went and found, by the way. He doesn't make any other citations to the article. He just continues to ramble on with talking points that he already has established with his made-up worldview. Stop calling bodily mutilation. Well, first off, sorry. N-word. Please stop calling body mutilation GAC. And because I'm giving my opinions on the article, once again, you are so busy trying to win an argument, you think cutting off kids' dicks is care. So woke your brain fell out. Christ, brother. I respond with laughing emojis. At which point, and you're worried about the efficacy of GAC. I'm worried about N-words because trans are only N-words. No, I'm just fucking with you. Who cares? With mental illness, killing themselves before and after care because they've lied to so many doctors and surgeons can make money. The fact that a group still kills themselves a lot would prove GAC isn't the best solution for helping these people, as the article said. So this is factually, or I should not say factually. Well, no, because it is factually true that GAC helps trans people and suicide rates. That is a fact. It's been demonstrated in a multitude of studies. But logically, this point does not follow. And I laughed to it because it demonstrates how lost he is. It demonstrates that he has no basis in reality. It demonstrates that he doesn't have reasoning skills. Why? Because logically, if I have I mean, this one example that I come up with makes this whole statement moot. Like it doesn't make sense. It's illogical past this point. If 100% of trans people in this hypothetical world, if 100% of a population commits suicide before receiving care, okay, well, I was going to say 99%, but okay. If 100% of a population kills themselves or commits suicide, before receiving care, and after receiving care, we see those numbers drop off to 50%. That is still a massive portion of the population. But statistically significant change has been made to say that, guess what? This has improved outcomes for at least 50% of people with gender dysmorphia, right? Cool. So the fact that a lot of people kill themselves still is not indicative of the efficacy of GAC. Okay, great. So logically, what he just said doesn't even hold up. That shit doesn't even make sense. Um, let me see. Oh, and IDK, why you're worried? I'm worried about people killing themselves with mental illness, right? I said, you're actually not. If you were, you would support GAC that has been shown to help. If you really cared about people's lives, you would. Said, no, I believe that if you stop telling people their delusion is real, then you would make it. But despite evidence suggesting that this is the case. I said, nice belief. I'm glad you believe that. But what's true? The reason they killed themselves, he discusses this reason. I personally have not read this message because it's more like pandering bullshit that like reinforces his worldview. It's like talking points. I want facts. I want statistics, and he's not providing them and still is not citing anything. Um, As society, we need to address mental health epidemic. Yep, couldn't agree more. Who cares? He just says these vague generalities and actually isn't concerned with the problem at all. I don't care about the reason. I care about how you're interpreting the study. Again, nice hypothesis though. You're a lost cause. I did glance over this message because it personally attacked me. Oh shit. Oh no, I just killed my fucking baby dino. Whatever. When you aspire to confuse kids, that's direct correlation between fact and society-based delusional ones. If you feel like a bird should staple its wings to your back and let you jump off a cliff, no. If you're tr if you're transabled and you feel like you're missing a limb, should I cut off your limb? No. I should get you some serious mental help, preferably from someone not aspiring to make a profit off your illness. That being said, Trump's gonna fix the BS. He already said. I think at some point he tells me that I need to go get help. And I say based. Thanks for not addressing the study again. Do you need a study to determine common sense? Again, this appeal to common sense is weird because uh, I can send articles on the fact that women are on meds more now than ever. Yep, sure, cool. I haven't read these at all. It doesn't take a genius to know. They're factually not letting against girls in the past. He's going on and on. Like he's just like this is like he's on this script. He's a robot on this script. And as he's going through it, he's just like, okay, now we got to talk about trans people in sports. Okay, now we got to do this. Okay, now we have to talk about children and gender affirming care. Now we have to do like, and then he sends me a meme about a Thai lady boy, as if he's like, oh, even Asians know there's no such thing as trans because they use the term lady boy in their population. No, because this is ladyboys are distinctly different from trans sometimes, in the way that some people that I think there's like a there I forget what it's called. Is it the Dong show? I think there's a show in Thailand um, where you can go and it's essentially what I would equate to people. I would refer to it as drag. It's it's men that dress up as women and they do this amazing show. They're very elegant, and I think each time they come out, they remove a little bit of their clothing until they show their masculine form, and it's like super cool. But I think they refer even them, even people that participate in drag in Thailand, refer to themselves as at when they're in drag at least as ladyboys. Some of the sex workers there, they could be cross dressers. They could be some of them could be legitimately trans. But the fact that ladyboy is present in their diction could be a fucking translation error too. They just don't know that good in English, so it's they don't know I'm a transsexual because I don't know, maybe that's a big word in English. They say, "Hey, I'm ladyboy. I'm ladyboy. You want the sucks up?" So that is our conversation. Great. I don't, again, if you believe trans people should burn, rot, be eviscerated, hey, not my prerogative. Do what the fuck you want to do. Believe what you're going to believe. I wish I could change your mind. Unfortunately, I can't. But keep in mind the point of this. This is not to convince me. This all right here, I'm asking him for sources. I'm asking him to demonstrate this in research, to say there's some realistic grounding to suggest that the actions that you're taking aren't in the best of people's interests. And when he can't do that because he hasn't read the article, or he has a fundamental misunderstanding of it, or he realizes, oh shit, Xavier's too smart for me, and he's actually read the article. I'm fond of that third one. All right, yeah, that's what I think it is. Um, that he resorts to appealing to common sense, which ain't too common. When you're talking about the lives of other people and potential negative health outcomes, potential like mental health crises and things of that nature, common sense is only going to take you so far, my boy. It doesn't it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. This is an incredibly complex topic, and finding ways to best treat them isn't it's not a yeah. It's not. It's yeah. It's not a waste of time to figure out how to treat these people. Anyway, Donald Trump has been sworn in as the 47th president. Um, I expect more bigots and things to be empowered. such as Stefan, he directly contributes to negative health outcomes, and his inability to perceive that, his inability to reconcile that fact and step outside his own narrative, as one of the smartest people I know said, you are incapable of thinking outside of your own preconceptions and narrative, right? Um, yeah, man. I mean, if this isn't discrediting enough, if this, I mean, you don't, like I said before, hey, me and Stefan disagreed. You all and Stefan disagreed, but now you see it. Nothing that leaves his mouth has any form of credibility or basis in reality. So while you can appeal to logic, reason, and whatever the fuck else through like philosophical means and rhetoric, there is tangible real world observations to suggest that your rhetoric, that your hypotheses, that your logic and all this other bullshit is wrong. Because you appealed to common sense, whereas I appealed to like natural trends in the observable universe. These two are not. You engaged in a thought experiment, whereas I observed reality. And then the fact that you can't reconcile the two, the fact that you can't adjust even a little bit, the fact that you would, step out and insult me the way that you have. I largely don't insult him. I insult his ideas. And the fact that he persistently comes out refers to me as, dumb and some other shit, I'm not a huge fan of. But hey, it is what it is, dog. Can't save the world, can't save them all. I think moving forward, this is probably going to be our last conversation. As now. Before, our disagreements were largely like, yeah, I granted credence to his ideas because he holds a different worldview than me, and I thought it'd be valuable to explore that. But now that I understand the level of research, where he gets his facts from, and I guess his stuckness in his ideas, I'm no longer interested in having conversations with him regarding it. So. I will most likely not be appearing on the Moderately Educated News Network. As of this point, I haven't fully made my mind up, but more than likely, I don't see these conversations ever being productive. We're just going to disagree with each other. I'm going to spew facts and rhetoric. He's going to spew rhetoric, and we're going to largely remain unmoved. I can continue to use this as a platform to challenge myself to come up with better, more, well-versed arguments. But I also don't see the utility in that when somebody isn't engaging in good faith, doesn't give my arguments any time of day. And yeah, it's honestly combating the misinformation, using my time and energy to deal with somebody that's so honestly, um, so obviously dishonest is, well, I have better uses of my time. So as of this point, as of this recording, as of my Führer being being sworn in as president, yeah, dog, I'm good. I'm done. So um, take this as a sign of defeat. I let misinformation win. I couldn't, not even I was able to withstand the torrent of bullshit spewed from his mouth. Um, I take a lot of pride in lasting as long as I have. I take a lot of pride in the work, research, and time that I've taken to refine, develop my arguments. And quite frankly, I think this has made me a better person because I have more of a basis of reality. I've done more research into these fringe topics than I have for really most other things. I feel like I have a better understanding of the world now. And like I said, while we may not agree, I emerged wiser and more informed. I hope that my participant, co-host, could say the same thing, but largely I don't feel like that's the case. So. With that being said, I've yapped enough. This is Xavier Dukes of the Moderately Educated News Network signing off. Yeah, eat a dick.